Hi, Alexandra.
Hey, Alexandra. Hello, Alexandra. How are you?
Very well. Hi, Richard, Gage, and Jake. It's such a pleasure to talk to you today. This film tells an amazing story. I couldn't believe that it was something that had actually happened. Richard, how did you hear about this story and what inspired you to write and direct a film about it?
Yeah, I was living in Toronto in the summer of 2006, and I was just at a restaurant reading a newspaper, and I saw this very small article about an anniversary mass. At that time, it was the 80th anniversary mass that was being done for these boys in Kirkfield. And I read it and I thought to myself, that's such a great idea for a movie because it's a transformative story about boys becoming men over the course of an evening. And there's that essential ticking time clock. But then I forgot about it. Then I went back to my meal and I just kind of filed it away. But I knew that it was a good story because it stuck with me. It stayed with me. It Velcroed itself to me. And I couldn't quite remember the name of the lake. But when I eventually, a couple of years later, got round to wanting to make Brotherhood, I had to research it, and there wasn't anything about it on the internet at the time. But once I found the name of the lake, I was able to, look at all this like microfilm and look at all the newspaper articles that had come out about the tragedy at the time. And yeah, the reason I knew that I had to make it into a movie was just the impact of reading that story and it staying with me.
Jake and Gage, what most attracted you to this project?
I think it was similar. Like you said, I hadn't heard of this story. Richard had told me about it, and um, I just thought it was crazy that it wasn't more well known, especially in Canada. Like growing up in Canada, it's such a big event, and it kind of got swallowed by time, and it kind of disappeared. And I just thought it was like really a story worth telling. I thought all the characters were interesting. I thought that they were just like amazing heroes and the things that they went through. And yeah, I just really gravitated towards it. I was like, this is a story that needs to be heard and told, and we want to do these boys justice. So that's kind of what interested me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm in the same boat. I was shocked to hear about the story. I was really surprised that I hadn't heard about it until Richard came about and the audition came about. And I think the whole cast, especially because we were all, or at least the majority of us were Ontario boys, we felt like we had this responsibility to tell this story, and share it because so few people know about it. I get, like Jake said, it's kind of been swallowed by time. So we were all really excited to do it justice.
What did you enjoy most about being in a film set in the 1920s?
A film set in the 1920s. I mean, it's fun. I think it looks good when the wardrobe goes right, but I can say for sure it doesn't feel fantastic. I think there have been market improvements in the way that clothes feel. So that's for me at least. I don't know about Jake, but I remember putting on my tweed everything and saying, I'm pretty happy that we're not doing this anymore.
Um, I just love being able to kind of like disappear into that moment in time. I love when you get to be a part of something that every facet of it is like working towards putting you in this other world or other time, and you get to just disappear and really be in that time and place. Like when you have the sets, the wardrobe, the props, everything about that. So for me, it was just a really great experience to feel like I existed at that time and be in that headspace and live in that world. And I mean, Richard was really great in preparing us for that. And we weren't on our cell phones all day on set. We weren't, we were disconnected from technology and this modernism because we were out there like on this lake and in the woods doing what these boys would have done. And to me, that was just super special. And, to follow Gage, what I didn't like about the time period is the cigarettes with no filters that that we were smoking. Those were a little harsh, but
that you were smoking.
Yes, that I was smoking, you know, but it was massively special to do that, especially that it was a period piece.
Also, that I also take that answer because that makes my first one sound so shallow and vapid. Thank you, Jake.
Richard,
Yes.
what were you looking for during the casting process?
I was looking for the next fleet of exceptional young male actors. So kind of similar. I remember when I was in grade 9 and my drama teacher wheeled in the TV and the VCR and we watched Dead Poet Society. And it was a similar feeling to that. Like, I want to put together this team that resembles the actors who did Dead Poet Society or School Ties or Stand By Me, a cadre of actors who, if you tried to make a movie with them, 15 years later, the budget would be $200 million because their stars had all risen so beautifully. So I was kind of looking for, like the next River Phoenix. And I hope you don't mind the comparison, Jake, but I think I found him with Jake Manley.
I'll take that.
Jake's also born on the same day as River Phoenix. So I found that out before I cast him. So it all was meant to be. I was also looking for kind of like putting together a hockey game. Like, I was looking for athletes because I knew that because of all the location work, I needed like a rough and tumble group of guys. And it was very interesting because I was not that as a kid. I was very sensitive and insular and just wanted to play with my Star Wars toys. And I never, ever played a sport in my life. But I was looking for sportsmen for Brotherhood because I wanted people who would be fearless and who could run into a lake or climb up a tree or play lacrosse or jump over a fence. And I would say all of the actors who I hired could do that. The ones who didn't need to because that wasn't their character anyway. So for me, it was really thrilling to put together, and it's sort of like putting together a puzzle or playing a chess game where you're just moving actors around to say, what is the best fit and how can I create with the casting director? How can I create cohesion and sparkle and camaraderie? Because we'd be shooting the movie so fast. I need actors who are athletes, who are poets, who could bring their A game and just go and drop in and go because we were moving very fast. Oops.
I have to ask you guys, how many days did you spend filming in the water?
No, we were in it all told probably for maybe 10 days, Richard. Does that sound right?
It was 8 days in the
8
water.
days?
Yeah.
Eight not so unpleasant days, actually. The water we anticipate, or at least I anticipated being in freezing cold water, but the crew very generously made it warm. So when we're shivering, that's not, wish I could say it was like real method. It wasn't. Very warm water.
It was too warm. Like, there was times where I was overheating. When we were being physical, I was like, it was like a warm bath. So yeah, the water was not bad. It was it was more cold getting out of it. So we never wanted to get out in between takes. We're just staying in the water.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of custom made wetsuits too. And we discovered that we didn't need them and that they were in fact kind of impractical. After the first few days, we were all getting out and sort of waddling back to chairs. And I think by day number 3, we ditched the wetsuits and just said, all right, let's use the clothes.
Where was this filmed? Because it just looks beautiful, the camp setting. And how long were you there?
So it was also 8 days on location. And we shot on the Mishippicotten First Nation, which is in Northern Ontario. And it was an extraordinary location. We were able to do so much more on a First Nation because it's their sovereign land. than we could, say, in a provincial park. Like like we had to cut down trees and whatnot. And members of the band worked on the movie, which was very special. And Chief Patricia Tangi, who leads that First Nation, she did a smudge with the actors and the crew before we started. But it was great. Like the dock that you see in the movie, that was made by the First Nation with trees that were felled on the First Nation and put through whatever that machine is. I told you I wasn't sporty. To put through the miller, right? To build the dock. And I think that all those sort of things cumulatively add to the authenticity of the feel of Brotherhood. That it makes it all more true. You have the rough hewn edges. We had a seamster from the First Nation who built some of the props. It all adds to the authenticity.
Brotherhood takes place right after an epidemic, which kind of makes it even more relevant for people watching it today. How did the current pandemic affect the release of this movie?
Right. Well, it's very interesting because in a way, bizarrely, and almost maybe perversely, it gave the film a second life, because last summer there was theaters closed and then they were reopening again. There was a real shortage of new content because Hollywood just froze. So a lot of movie theaters were screening Jurassic Park and E.T. and Back to the Future. And there was only so many of those that you could do. So I reached out to a lot of the independent cinemas, like the mom and pop cinemas, and I said, would you be interested in Brotherhood? Now, by then it had been released on streaming, but kind of like all the distribution rules have gone out the window since COVID hit. So we ended up having about 127 screenings on the big screen of Brotherhood between the first and second wave. So from the end of July to about November. And then we're starting up again now this summer. So it provided a bizarre kind of opportunity, and I had to recognize that and go after it. I think watching the movie I think the movie, certainly when we were making it, we didn't know that a worldwide pandemic was coming, something akin to the Spanish flu. But I think the movie has more relevance now. I think it bristles more because of the pandemic, and these were boys who, they were just 8 or 10 years away from the Spanish flu, and it's funny because we had a screening in March last year, just before all the theaters shut down, and there's a part where Brendan Fletcher, who plays Arthur Lambden, the camp leader, talks about the effect of the Spanish flu on his family. And we all just kind of shivered watching it as we were just about to go into the first lockdown, because we're like, wow. So I guess I'm kind of happy that there's so much that we got right.
For Gage and Jake, I know the pandemic still isn't over, but have things opened up enough that you've got any projects lined up? And if so, can you tell me about them?
I just wrapped shooting on a movie called Luckiest Girl Alive, which I was really excited about, and I think that'll be releasing sometime next year, ish. How about you, Jake?
Yeah, it seems like the industry is sort of finding its feet again, with the exception of this recent kind of outbreak. But I just wrapped an action movie with John Cusack and Emile Hirsch that's called Pursuit. It's going to be cool. I think it's coming out in theaters winter next year. I'm not really sure yet. And then I'm diving into another kind of indie psychological thriller in a couple weeks out here in LA. So yeah, it definitely feels great to be back on set with people, but it's a different capacity. There's like a lot of what was fun about being on set was the spontaneity and, like Richard said, the camaraderie. And it's hard to have that because there's a certain level of protection and distancing, which I understand, but definitely missing, shoots like Brotherhood, where we just had so much fun, and we're just such a family. So I hope stuff like that comes back pretty soon.
Definitely.
Agreed. Yeah, I feel like the team building that we did was huge as far as building chemistry and making sure that everyone on set gelled. And I think that when the camera started rolling on day one, you could see the work. It wasn't really work, but you could see the time that we had put in to coming together as a unit and developing relationships. So yeah, it's sad that kind of opportunity is not really there as much anymore, but hopefully it'll come back soon.
Definitely. And finally, Richard, you direct, you write screenplays, you even write songs. What are you working on next?
Well, the pleasure of being a screenwriter is that I do all my work from home. So COVID-19 hasn't really affected my work and capacity as a screenwriter. I would, of course, love to get back on set and direct again, but that will come. I have 2 projects that I'm working on right now, but they're so early. They're so in genesis that they're probably not quite worth mentioning yet. So in the meantime, I am just here in my apartment, Netflix and chilling and, writing away quietly like a little hobbit.
Well, I want to thank you all for talking to me today about this amazing film, which can currently be seen on Amazon Prime Video. I hope everyone, takes time and watches this, because it's just such an incredible story, and you all do a great job on it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks, Alexandra.
Thank you, guys.